probably in the minority with that. I realize most even 18 and 20 and 22-year-olds probably don't know what they want to do the rest of their lives. About to be a dad. Let me come in like a couple of days. And she was like, oh, absolutely, yeah. Bring the baby. I want to see the baby, all that stuff. So we ended up meeting the practitioner. We toured the facility, and you've been there. Our jaws just dropped. We're like, wait a minute, this could be ours. And I've learned a lot, but I've also expanded my horizons a lot throughout the path. And like I said, I realized I'm a minority with knowing that's what I wanted to do, but I love going to work every day and getting to help people.
Hey everyone, welcome to In The Ellipsis. I am Jeremiah Isley, I'm your host. And today we've got a guest. He is a chiropractor who not only is a practicing chiropractor, but owns his own business, his own practice. Personally, I've been there countless times and gotten great care, and I love it. So I was like, got to have you on the show. We've talked podcasting before. Dr. Alex Bow is here with us. Am I saying that right? I always feel like I'm mispronouncing your last name.
Well, I usually go by Dr. Alex because it's easier to pronounce than Bew, but like Clue, but with that, or right. Blue without the L, Bew. Short and sweet.
See, that's what I always want to say Bow, and I don't know why, but it's Bew. So, okay.
I've heard it all over the years, so it's okay.
With the last name Isley, I'm the same way. I've heard so many different things. So let's jump in. Let's talk about, we talked a little bit in pre-show, and I've seen some of the stuff that you've written into us. You're kind of one of the lucky ones that you were like a teenager and you knew what you wanted to do. And like, now you're doing that. So let's talk about the bookends and sort of where you started and where you are now. And then we'll dig into the meat of that story.
Yeah. I'm very blessed to have known what I wanted to do at a young age. And I realize I'm probably in the minority with that. I realize most even 18 and 20 and 22-year-olds probably don't know what they want to do the rest of their lives. So I was probably 15 when I knew this is what I wanted to do with my life. My hometown chiropractor helped me get through a lot of my sports. I was a basketball and track athlete doing high jump and developed low back pain very early, deadlifting too heavy, too young, too dumb. And he kept me able to do sports most of my high school and collegiate career. So I was 15 in his office getting treatment one day and was kind of like, I think I could do that. That seems like it's a lot of fun. And I was blessed that it stuck with me, and I loved every step of the way, and I've learned a lot, but I've also expanded my horizons a lot throughout the path. And like I said, I realized I'm a minority with knowing that's what I wanted to do, but I love going to work every day and getting to help people. So it's been a beautiful thing. And now my wife and I own a practice in Hudson, Ohio. We've been there for 10 years coming up in November. And it's a blessing to be married to my business partner, but we also kind of shift days. So it's been a lot of alternating time, but it's been beautiful to be home with our kids sometime and at the office sometimes and wearing two hats.
Yeah, I feel that. It's super cool when, careers and lives align. So let's talk about how you got from a 15-year-old kid who was deadlifting too much to somebody who's running their own business, who's 10 years. I didn't even realize you were there that long. That's awesome. What were sort of your steps towards that? I mean, obviously, I'm sure chiropractic school is one of those, but, running a business is, I would assume, a lot different than being a chiropractor.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'll kind of give you guys the Cliff Notes version to spare 4 hours of your lives. But yeah, knew I wanted to do this at 15. So I set out for undergrad with a bio pre-med degree in mind. And I did some research, luckily, at a young age, knowing I only had to take, I think it was like 90-ish, 92, 94 credit hours to qualify for chiropractic school. So I was like, I can do that in 3 years, transfer straight to chiropractic school and save myself an extra year of tuition in undergrad and an extra year of time in school period. So I went to Teal College for undergrad. I did track and field. I was a high jumper. Proud to say I won 2 President's Athletic Conference championships in the high jump, even though Division III isn't super much to brag about, but hey, I did it. All the while getting treated all the way through because my back was killing me because I'm young and dumb, hurt my back in probably 12 or 13 years old, deadlifting too early. So I went to undergrad, transferred straight into chiropractic school, did my 3.5 years there, came out, and my wife, who I met in chiropractic school, was from Akron-ish area, west side of Akron, Fair Lawn, Norton. So she got out of school, had a job in alliance with another doc. It's very common for chiropractors to associate or work underneath a practicing doctor for a period of time. It can be 1, 2, 3, 5 years, depending on what's out there and what you want to do, to kind of learn the ropes, because chiropractic school does a very good job teaching you how to be a doctor, but it's, unless you have a business background, it does not do the greatest job, at least where I went, teaching you the business end. And even the business stuff they give you, it's kind of like, oh, I'm worried about being a doctor. I don't want to worry about all this fluff stuff. I'll just write a business plan and be golden. People, you build it, they will come, which isn't always true. So she got her job in Alliance, Ohio.
Sure.
I got a job with the gentleman in Canton, Ohio. So we ended up living in Canton for 2 years before we moved to Aurora and took over our existing practice that we've been at for 10 years. And so I've had the blessing of having a handful of major career discoveries along the way, with incorporating things like active release technique, which is a soft tissue treatment, as well as things like the reflexive performance reset, the activated and square one techniques, as well as dry needling. So I wear a whole bunch of different hats. I'm also got certified in 2014 as a American Veterinary Chiropractic Association animal chiropractor. So I see dogs and horses as well. I actually saw 5 horses up at the Northfield racetrack yesterday, which is a lot of fun. But yeah, just I'm always looking to find new avenues of how I can be beneficial to the world. I compare chiropractic to a toolbox for a mechanic. If you have one tool like a crescent wrench, you can fix some stuff, but you're not going to fix everything. If you have a whole garage full of tools and toolboxes, now you can really start to make a dent. So I've just always been hungry and had a thirst for knowledge, especially in the anatomy and physiology and biomechanical world. So I'm always looking for new, better ways out there to serve my patients, animal or human, and it's been a lot of fun along the ride.
That is cool. I saw on your website, pictures of you helping dogs and things. I didn't realize you were in the equestrian arena, I guess.
Yep.
That's really cool. How did that present itself to you? Like, was there a conference that you attended where that was something that was coming down the pike, or like what took you that direction?
Pretty much everything I do has a story behind it, and how I got into it. It wasn't basically just accident, divine intervention, if you will, but I picked up a puppy when I was about halfway through chiropractic school, and he started having seizures when he was about 2 years old, but they always seemed to be functional. He'd either pull on a leash, he'd shake a toy real hard, play with his sister rough, and then he'd have a seizure. They could last minutes on the short end. Some of them were an hour or two. And so in the middle of one of the seizures, I took him to an emergency vet, and they're like, oh my gosh, we have to do MRIs, neurologic studies. They shot him up with Valium. They calmed the seizure, but I was, to be fair, broke and fresh out of school. And I was like, I don't have thousands of dollars to throw down the drain, even though I love my dog, but I didn't have it to spend it. So my groomer at the time, this is when we lived in Canton, Ohio.
Right.
My groomer said, hey, go see this gentleman, Dr. Dave Smolinski. He's over in Marsh, Pennsylvania. He's an animal chiropractor. Give it a try. I said, well, I'm a human chiropractor. That makes a lot of sense. So I went and saw Dr. Dave. He adjusted Teddy, and he showed me what was wrong with him. So he was a little 8-pound Yorkie Maltese mix. So he looked like Chewbacca, goofy little bugger, but cute as hell. And so I took him over there. He adjusted him. And I don't want to get him in trouble for this, but he kind of showed me a trick of what to do with Teddy. In the interim, if he had another seizure, he said, don't drive 2 hours. If he's having a seizure, wink, wink, nod, nod. You are a chiropractor. Here's how you fix this spot. So for the next 2 months, Teddy had about 5 or 6 seizures. And every time he'd have a seizure, I would adjust the very first vertebrae in his neck, and the light switch, it was like a light switch, the seizure would go away. So like the 4th or 5th time this happened, I called Dave up on the phone. I was like, hey, Dr. Dave, where did you learn this? Because I need to learn the whole thing. Like, this is too powerful. This wasn't put in my wheelhouse on accident. Right. I need to learn the whole thing. So he told me where to go down in Texas. I went and took all the 240 credit hour training for the
Wow.
AVCA, took my exam and all that fun stuff. And I've been doing that since 2000. I have to look back, 14 or 15.
Okay.
So somewhere in there is when I got certified with the ABCA. So that's almost 10 years as well. Majority with my animals is dogs. So I probably see 50 or so dogs at the office throughout a month. I usually just honestly do them on my lunch breaks or the end of the day because my human hours are pretty full as it is. And then I'll travel for the horses, which, Northfield Park, luckily for me, is 15 minutes away. So
Right.
they have 900 horses on site. So it's fun to get up there and see some of the athlete horses too. But I see a lot of trail riders and stuff all
Mm.
through, Northeast Ohio. So it's a lot of fun.
I was gonna say, so like, can we?
Add some extra variety to my day.
Yeah, yeah. So can we get like some inside? Like, hey, I adjusted this horse. It's racing in the sixth race. you know, little
Oh,
inside for the.
yeah.
Little,
We'll talk
all
offline
right,
about
all
that
right.
one. Okay. Well, I can tell you which horses not to bet on, put it that way.
Understood. Understood.
Less conspicuous that way.
That's awesome. So talk to me about when you said, all right, we're I, we're doing chiropractic. You're working. When you said, all right, it's time to open my own practice, or in your case, you and your wife's own practice. What went into that decision? Like, take me through the struggles, the growing pains, the what it's taken from that moment to now with your journey of like, all right, well, now it's time to open our own practice.
Yeah. Well, we always kind of knew in our minds once, like when we met in school and realized things were serious and got engaged and got married, we're like, we always wanted our own practice. Uh, I think things came faster than we expected them
Mm.
to, but life has ways of surprising you. So I'm not going to complain. I had been about 2 years into my 3-year contract in Canton, and we had moved actually up to Aurora. So I was driving like 45 minutes an hour each way each day. And we were actually pregnant with our first, bought our house, moved into it. She was due a month later. So we're in the hospital having our first daughter, who's 9 years old now. She's going to be 10 in July. So we're having our first child. And in the
Mm.
hospital, I get an email from the person that owned our clinic before us. She was getting ready to retire. She's like, hey, would you like to come look at it? Are you
Oh, okay.
interested in taking it over? And of course, it was, 15, 20 minutes from our house. So we jumped at the
Mm.
opportunity, but I was like, hey, here's the situation. I'm literally, about to be a dad. Can we come in like a couple of days? And she was like, oh, absolutely. Yeah. Bring the baby. I want to see the baby, all that stuff. So we ended up meeting the prior owner. We toured the facility, and you've been there. Our jaws just dropped. We're like, wait a minute, this could be ours.
Yeah.
And for our situation, moving to a new area where we
Yeah.
really didn't know anybody, it made sense to pay a little more upfront to be able to buy an existing
Mm.
practicing clientele and have a 2-week transition with the old doc to the new to ourselves, than to try to like grind it out, start your own practice from the ground up, throw flyers out and knock on people's doors. Like that didn't sound appealing to me. But again,
Right.
everything happens for a reason. This
Yeah.
opportunity
Yeah.
delivered itself to us, and we were like, we would be stupid not to at least look into it. So we looked into it. Everything ended up working out very, very well. We had
Sure.
a 2-week transition with the prior doctor, and we maintained quite a few of her clients and have just expanded it ever since. We've changed a lot of things over the way. Not that anything she was doing was incorrect or anything like that, but just, we made it more our own as opposed to what her vision was. And so we've been there. November will be
Mm-hmm.
10 years now. So it was just a very beautiful timing with everything, how it worked out. And after I was there probably solo by myself for like 6 months. And then my wife was able to stop her associateship and join me because I kind of didn't want to cut both our salaries right away and be like, hey, let's jump all in and see this. So I
Yeah.
worked it. It was luckily at the time, it was only 3 days a week. And then I could still do a day a week with my animals and my contract work. So I was able to take it over solo at first. And then
Mm.
after everything after we kind of, the weight is all settled, we brought her on board as well. And we've been just cranking it ever since. We're on our second and third associates right now. So it's been fun to kind of teach, I guess, the younger or the next generation coming out of school our ways. Not that we know everything or are always perfect, but it's been fun to kind of watch them grow. Our first associate has since opened her own place down in Canton, Ohio. So it's just fun to kind of see that, flower
Oh, cool.
blossom and see the extended pieces of that cobweb.
Yeah. It's the circle of life,
Yeah.
right? Like you were in some with somebody and they set you free, and then you're doing the same for others. And
Yeah.
that's really cool. Yeah, I've seen Dr. John a number of times, and he's doing great.
Yeah.
He's awesome. So you're doing good work with him.
Well, it's just fun to, and again, I look at the opportunity I had out of school. The guy I worked for was wonderful, like with teaching. Like he taught me probably at least 50% of how I practice now. So like that's, oh, I think regardless of
Mhm.
whatever financial situation you get in right after school, if you can learn from a person, it's worth way more than having a, 300K salary out of the bank, because that's going to feed your, it's like
Sure.
a retirement plan. It's going to front load, but you're going to get way more dividends in the long run if you can learn a lot from the person you're with. And my wife and I both were blessed that we learned a lot from the people we worked with. So, and they since too have had multiple associates since. So they're captaining their wheel and circle of life, and we're doing our own. So just trying to feed it, pay it forward, if you will.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. I think it's super awesome to hear that. And when I talk to people in different communities or different industries, and I know in mine, doing live sound and then getting into podcasting and stagehand work and things like that, I learned so much more from the generation that was ahead of me, and from the very kind people who were just willing. They weren't close-fisted with their knowledge and their tips and their just little tricks and all of that. So to see that, again in another community, in another industry, it's so cool, like, because you hear a lot of different stories about people that are just tough to work with or whatever. And it's like, man, why you got to be like that?
Yeah.
We're all just trying to make it through and figure this thing out. So
Say there's kind of a unfortunate but kind of common phrase in the chiropractic world that chiropractors eat their own. So it's very common for,
mm,
fresh out of school docs to come out and work for a doc that just kind of puts their nose to the grindstone and just forces them to work 40, 50, 60 hours a week, do all these marketing events and stuff, and just almost burn them out, which it's good to teach people that work
mm,
ethic and the right way to market, the wrong way to market, like what works, what doesn't work. But at the same time, like to just take advantage and make all the money off the associate and not give them anything in return, to me, just was never, I was blessed not to have to deal with that. So I always tell my associates, I'm like, we're not going to eat you. We're not
yeah,
going to eat you alive. We're going to teach you. If you have questions, comments, thoughts, like if you have a better idea, come to my door and let's make this a dual way learning street, because it's just not worth the profession. I know more than everybody else, and everyone else that's doing what I do is terrible. No, we're all doing very good work. It's just better to feed the whole industry rather than just try to put yourself on a pedestal and cut everybody else around you down. That's just not a good way to go about it.
yeah. Rising tides raise all ships, right?
Exactly.
Everybody benefits if the tide comes in.
Right.
So yeah, that's so cool. Let me ask you this. You said over the years that you've sort of tweaked and changed your practice from the previous owner. Talk about that process, I guess from more of like a business mindset of trial and error, things that worked, things that didn't work, how you kind of approach and recalculate and reassess. What's your sort of thought, or I guess philosophy or process for that?
So a lot of it has come from, well, probably first part, the guy I worked with in Canton, just his process of how he treated patients. And he focused a lot more on the soft tissue end of things, like muscle, ligament, tendon. And I think my first big epiphany coming out of school, I actually got a little frustrated. And this is my own personal story, so this isn't like boo boo on chiropractic by any means, because obviously I am a chiropractor, so I'm drinking some of the Kool-Aid.
Mm-hmm.
But coming out of school, we were kind of taught
Right.
that adjusting the spine fixes everything. So adjust the spine, fix any, asymmetries or restrictions in the
Mm.
skeleton, and the nervous system will have free flow and heal everything. And I was like, that's a good philosophy. However, if someone's pain is from a knot or a trigger point, you can adjust them till they're blue in the face. they're still going to have pain afterwards because you didn't fix the muscular end of it. And so I watched this guy in Canton the first day. I went in, I shadowed him the first day, and he adjusted a patient, full spine adjustment, and they had pain with, I think it was neck motions, like turning left and right before the treatment. So you go, okay, sit up. He goes, try turning your head left and right again. I'm like, oh, I still feel pain. So he did a couple passes of active release technique, which is kind of like a massage on steroids. So he did like a minute worth of treatment on this patient's shoulder and neck. And they're like, oh, it's 50% better. Okay, where do you feel it? They kind of, cheating a little bit. They kind of point the, like shooting fish in a barrel. They point where they feel it. A couple more passes. Oh, it's 80% better. Okay, where do you feel it? It moved up a little bit. And so that little trial and error process of chasing away the pain, I was like, wait a minute, why didn't I learn that in school? So that was my first big epiphany. So watching that method versus the practitioner we took over for was very much a traditional chiropractor, where practic end of it was everything she did. And then there's a rehab side that would kind of then focus on the soft tissue and stuff. But I was like, I want that all in my wheelhouse and then do more on the rehab side. So I think a lot of that just came from watching how he treated to when we then took over the practice. We just kind of had to shift it to how we wanted to operate. And we spend a little more time with patients, which obviously takes our patient volume down. But then I feel like we also we spread out our treatment plans faster, so we don't have to then see them as frequently, which kind of goes against the chiropractic paradigm at some point. But it's again, more tools in the toolbox. And if you can look at how the nervous system engages your muscles for movement of the skeleton, you can treat all three ends of that spectrum. And yeah, you may spend 3 times as much time with a patient, but you get them better 3 times faster. They then say, hey, brother, sister, cousin, brother-in-law, mom, dad, you got to go see these people. Like, even if you've seen a chiropractor before, you got to see this method. And again, by no means am I trying to like toot my own horn like I've, solved the Rubik's Cube, but just I think adding that personalized care, where a lot of places say that they're like a full service or head to toe treatment. Those are cheesy and cheap to me, but if you don't look at the full body and how it's moving, and then as well, like stuff what my wife does with nutritional work, like we both just have been able to kind of combine the pieces of the yin and the yang of the practice she worked at and the one I worked at. And then just our own frustrations with, hey, why isn't this person getting better? And then we find a new technique or a new, better way to serve the masses. And then it's like, well, wait a minute. I wish I knew this 10 years ago. And then now I'm trying to force, forward feed that to my associates. Like, hey, start with XYZ in your toolbox, learn these couple of things with these seminars, and then you're going to start off where I did 8 years in. So just, trying to feed that thing forward and pay it forward with the next generations. Like, hey, learn from my mistakes. Don't make them too, or make them a lot shorter and quicker than I did.
Hey everyone, Jeremiah Isley here, your host of In The Ellipsis, with a quick reminder that we are powered by Crooked Path Productions. At Crooked Path Productions, we help people make podcasts. And right now, we're giving away all of our secrets. If you go to fasttrack.crookedpathmedia.com, you can download our full Fast Track podcast guide, including our pre-production, our production checklist, our post-production checklist, a full gear guide, and a content planner framework. It's literally like all of our secrets for creating a great sounding, great looking, world-class podcast. So if you want to check that out and you want to get your own podcast underway, you can head on over there and get that, again, completely free, no strings attached. All right, that's enough of that. Let's get back to the show. So it sounds like your sort of philosophy just comes from, and it sounds so basic to say, but like just treat what's going wrong. Like, and it sounds like that's sort of informing how you approach a patient when you see them, which we won't go into like the medical field in general, but sometimes I feel like it's treating, there's a lot of treatment of the symptom, not the cause.
Right.
And so you just end up sort of chasing symptoms and chasing symptoms and chasing symptoms. But yeah, that's great. Talk to me about what is next for you? Like, I mean, obviously the practice seems to be doing really well. My wife and I love it when we go there, our visits, and I will, as a patient say, yes, I've been to other chiropractors before, and I think the time that you spend with each patient, with me and my wife, and the level of care is really outside the box of any other chiropractor I've been to. So kudos to that, because I tell people about you all the time. So
I really appreciate
that's
that.
working.
Yeah, it's working.
Yeah.
Field of dreams. You build it,
Yeah.
build it, they
Yeah.
will come.
So right. So what's next? What do you see, in the future, immediately, 5, 10 years from now? Like, how do you see what you're doing now growing, changing, staying the same? What do you feel is next down the road for you?
I honestly think where we're at right now is just it's a beautiful place. I don't like biting off more than I can chew. Um, I can't clone myself and my
Mm.
wife or our associates, and I can't I could triple the size of my building, but I also feel like with the style of treatment that we do, our office size and space is pretty comfortable with what we're doing. I love having one or two associates at a time, or like
Yeah.
overlapping one for like a year and a half and then another one for a year and a half. So they kind of like take over for each other. But I just like the teaching realm of things at this point. So I still love patient treatment. Like I love treating my patients, regardless if it's, on site at my office or traveling for horses or doing, something like contract work with active release technique on site for employees that helps prevent workers' comp cases for big
Mm.
companies. That's another part of what I do as well. But I just love, I,
Nice.
I think, spreading more of my knowledge that I've learned over the years to younger generations so that they can kind of start out ahead of the curve with things that, and again, this is not a knock on
Mm.
chiropractic or the schools or anything else. Like there's a curriculum that needs to be done, and it's 3.5 years, so it's not like it's not intensive. But I would just try to, like, my goal is just to teach anyone that comes to my office or anyone that's going to work for me or even come shadow me, like, always stay hungry. Always look for that new piece out there. Like, there's a lot of good information. There's a
Yeah.
lot of bad information that's out there. There's techniques that work for one person and won't for another. So I think my goal is just keep adding a few more things to my toolbox. But yeah, just having I think
Mm.
the beauty of having associates for 2 or 3 years and just cycling through, but teaching them and then watching them grow and do their own thing. That's kind of like my passion at this point in time. And at the same time, not abandoning my patients. I still want to be there as much as I am now, and just enjoying that work-life balance with my kids, and then teaching patients as much as I can about their body and how not to need us long term. But at the same time, just the maintenance piece of it is huge too.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think for a lot of people too, the work life balance component is big, and I'm glad you mentioned that right there at the end, because you have young children, I have children. Like, the sweet spot to be able to, pay your bills, but also do something that you as a teenager dreamed about doing and wanted to do, and also having a strong family life, and enjoying your kids while they're still living under your roof. Uh, a lot of times people say it's an iron triangle. Like, pick two sides. You can have two sides, but you can't have all three, which I think is kind of a defeatist approach to that.
Yeah.
But it's difficult.
Yeah. I like I'm I'm spoiled and blessed that I'm able to. People always ask me, like, how do you work with your wife? And to be perfectly fair, we split schedules, so we're there at different days. And even a few days we are there together, we're in different treatment rooms, so we're
Yeah.
not on top of each other, staring at each other all the time. Like if we had a cubicle job and worked together and
Right.
stared at each other 24/7, she probably would have got rid of me a long time ago. But we've been very blessed to make our schedules work, where we kind of made the decision, hey, we could both work full time and put our kids in daycare and make more money, but then spend some of that money on daycare, or we could alternate our schedule. One of us gets a home day with the kids every other day, and then one of us at the office every day, and then we bring in associates to help fill the gaps. But it has been a blessing to be able to do that, especially with young ages, because that's just something I think at this point of life in American society is not
Yeah.
normal. Like I look at myself as an outlier in a lot of things, but I'm also very blessed in that. And I think sometimes you have to take that,
Yeah.
sometimes take the ability to say, hey, I'm comfortable, I'm paying my bills, I'm happy, but I get 2 days a week at home with my kids where, yeah, I can spend 2 more days a week working
Yeah.
and pay more bills and buy more fancy things and have, bigger house, bigger boat, bigger whatever. But is that really by happiness when you can watch your kids grow up and that goes so quick as, I'm sure any parent attests to that you blink and you're like, where did the last X number of years go to?
Yeah, like we were talking pre-show, I'm doing college visits with my oldest right now, and it's like I don't know how that happened. He was like 2 years old sitting on my lap like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
So, kudos to you, because a lot of people who find success, they chase that, and they trade in a lot of things for that success in their business. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to be successful and grow a business and grow a brand and whatever it is that you're doing, but keeping that in check and understanding, be where you are now and have that time with your kids and your family. Like it's a beautiful thing. Like be encouraged, man. You've got something figured out there.
Yeah, it's just, there's certain things you don't get back. You can always make more money. Can't rewind time.
Yeah. Well, hey, we are just about out of time. Real quick, give us the rundown. Where can people find you? Are you online? Are you on the socials? Go ahead and promote shamelessly promote yourself so people can find you.
Shameless promotion. Yes, our office is called the Chiropractic Wellness Center of Hudson. Website is thehudsonchiropractor.com. We have the Hudson Chiropractic Wellness Center, or the Chiropractic Wellness Center of Hudson on Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. I'm Alexander BUDC on Instagram, but most of our stuff goes through the office page. Yeah, located in South Hudson. We take new patients all the time, but just like the ability to dive deeper with our patients and find what the root of things are, like we kind of talked about earlier, is why are we treating symptoms when we can get to the root cause of why your pain or what other symptom you have is there.
Yeah.
But that's us. And my wife, by the way, is Dr. Jennifer Bew, so
awesome.
She's on a lot of her social stuff as well. I can embarrass her and grab her from inside, but I won't do that right now.
Yeah. Trust me, wives don't like to be put on spot like that.
No.
You want me to be on camera? What?
Yeah.
Hey, thanks so much for being on the show today. Again, if you're listening to this and you heard something that was inspiring and you think somebody else would enjoy it, please share that. That's a great way to thank Dr. Alex for taking the time to be with us today. Again, if you want to find all of those places that he just mentioned, check out the show notes. We'll link everything there. I'm Jeremiah Isley. The show is brought to you by Crooked Path Productions. We help people tell stories through podcasting, stories like the one we just heard today. So you can find us at crookedpathmedia.com, or again, we'll link all the contact info in the show notes. And that's it. We're going to wrap up. I'm Jeremiah Isley for my guest, Dr. Alex.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. This is In The Ellipsis.